Hey, thank you for joining me again for another video on the 7 habits of highly effective people with me, Jason Duncan, and results through integrity. For those of you that have been following this video series all throughout the year 2020, I want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. Thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn and or Instagram. You can find me at either one of those social media channels at The Real Jason Duncan. And of course, you can find me on YouTube at the link provided here on the screen. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure you hit the bell icon. I've got videos that come out every week on Friday sales tips and on the 7 habits of highly effective people. This week, we're on week number 34. We've been going through this card deck from the 7 habits of highly effective people together as entrepreneurs and as business leaders. And on week 34, the tip moves into the habit number 5, which is seek first to understand, then to be understood. One of the great tips for highly effective people. And again, if you haven't read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you need to make that one of your absolute must-reads as soon as possible. Read it again and again and again. It is that good. So the week 34 tip is this: practice empathic listening. Now, what does that mean? Well, empathy is where we actually try to put ourselves in the position of the other person. It's different than sympathy. Sympathies, we're just feeling sorry for that other person, or we're projecting our own emotions onto them. But empathy, or empathic listening, is where we're actually trying to put ourselves in that person's condition, in that person's situation, in their scenario, or in their shoes, as we say. So what the tip is here is to practice empathic listening. Listening is a very, very difficult skill to master. It's a very difficult skill to be good at, but those who are effective in life, those who are actually succeeding and really progressing in this world to make an impact, they know how to be empathic listeners. On the front of the card, the two things it tells us here is, number 1, today, practice listening for understanding. You know, a lot of times we listen just so that we can prepare our response, or we listen just to hear what they're saying, but not to really understand it. But if we want to practice empathic listening, if we want to be an effective person, we need to practice listening for understanding. It says here to try to reflect back the feelings of others and the content of the message. Check yourself when you interrupt, give advice, or judge. I did a tip not too long ago called Never Interrupt on my Friday sales tips on my channel on YouTube. And what I find is that many salespeople interrupt. A lot of people in casual conversations interrupt. Neither of those is empathic. In other words, you're not having empathy for the other person whatsoever. You're not seeking to understand. You're seeking to be understood. And what the tip is here for highly effective people is to seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Empathic listening is a key to make that happen. If you flip the card over, the ask yourself question says, do people around me feel that I genuinely understand them? That's a fair question. Do people around you feel that you genuinely understand them? If they don't, it's probably because you're not practicing empathic listening. You're talking too much, you interrupt too much, you give advice too much, you judge too quickly. Sometimes it's better just to listen and not give any answers at all. It goes on to say, listening with empathy means getting to the heart of what matters to the other person, whether we agree or not. When listening empathically, we listen with the intent to understand. We respond by reflecting feelings and words. You know, I know lots of people, friends in my life, colleagues, business colleagues, other people from church groups or other mastermind groups or other groups that we're a part of, that they're very smart, very intelligent, very successful people, but sometimes you wonder if they're even listening. That they talk too much. They want to share their thoughts, their opinions. I had a friend of mine in high school, and it stuck with me all these years. Actually, I think it was probably in 7th or 8th grade when I think we met in 7th grade, and somewhere 7th, 8th, 9th grade. I was one of those guys that would love to pontificate on matters that didn't matter. I was able to always give my opinion in every situation. And my friend, my best friend at the time, looked at me, and I remember him saying, "Jason, shut the hell up. We don't care what you think on every single subject." And at the time, that stung. It stung badly. And I was mad at him for a long time. But today, as a professional, as a dad, as a husband, man, I'm so grateful for that comment, because it reminded me that, you know what, I don't always have to give my opinion. I don't always have to tell people what I think is best. And I think what's happening here in this habit that Stephen Covey gives us in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is to seek to understand before you are seeking to be understood. Here it starts with practicing empathic listening. And you can't be an empathetic listener if you're too busy sharing your opinion. The quote from Stephen Covey this week says, "Next to human survival, the greatest need of a human being is psychological survival. To be understood, to be affirmed, to be validated, to be appreciated." Make sure that you're seeking to understand. This week, even today, practice empathic listening. Be empathetic. Don't try to give your opinion. Don't interrupt. Listen. Slow down and try to understand what the other person is saying. I hope that helps you be more effective this week. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, Jesus is King.